that the last discussion we had was if a mother decided to write or to give her nichse maleg, her assets, to her son rather than to her husband. So the question is, and then she died. Does it go transfer to the husband or to the son? So we concluded that the halach is like a shlokish, that kinyan paid is lav to kinyan haguf. The husband has the dividends, the rights to the property. But so all he has is kinyan paid. So he doesn't really have the guf. It's still retained by the wife. So so the question is whether she can give it to the son or not. She should be able to give it to the son because we brought other dinim where she makes a sale, it's a valid sale. But we concluded that a husband is different than, let's say, a father and a son, because a husband in Usha, they made a special takana to enhance their relationship, that the husband's relationship was so strong that even generally kinyan paytas, dividends, does not give you any ownership. The husband has a modicum of ownership in the property as well, and she had no right to give it to the son. That is basically what we said. But other people, like the case we had in the mission before about a father giving over to one of his sons the property completely, then that son sold it on, it would have been a good sale because the father only retained life tenancy or dividends, and therefore the father dividends are not like you have ownership, and the son's sale is a valid sale. But a husband is different. His dividends are stronger than just dividends. We made a special tekanusha that he has stronger shiva. So now we're going to bring a proof to that. The very bottom of the page, Peches on the base. Amar David Baravin. Omar Rabbi Baravin says, Af anana metanin, I'll prove it to you as well. Me'idin on the beach plenty, two witnesses come into court and say, we want to testify that this particular person, Shagida, divorced his wife, V'nosek Suvasa. So they concocted a story that the husband divorced his wife and she received already the ksuva. So the main thrust of the argument is that she already received the ksuva. She was paid out, right, exactly. The Arehi Tachto turned out to be the Bava Maisa, that she's still living with the husband, and still have a good relationship. So the first witnesses, and these witnesses were found to be liars. So what's the general rule? Whatever they intended to do, any losses they wanted her to incur, they have to now pay. What losses did they try? So it says, we don't say Yishalmu Kolksavasa. They said that she was paid out. So l'chayda, let's say the ksuva was $200. L'chayda, that they wanted her to lose $200. So should these Adam have to pay the $200? No. Elotoivas hanos ksuvasa. And this is all about the ksuva. We'll have a maktav in other places, and that is, if while she's alive she wants to sell a ksuva, whoever buys it is taking a risk, because if she outlives her husband or if she's divorced, she gets the full ksuva. So then the person who bought it will step in and take the full ksuva. But if she predeceases her husband and the husband takes over the ksuva, there's no ksuva. He doesn't have to pay it out. So this person who's buying is a 50-50 chance, or whatever the chances are, the risks are. So he'll pay, let's say, 20 cents in a dollar, 25 cents in a dollar, because he's taking a risk, like a lottery ticket. He might win, he might lose. That's what she lost. That's the amount she lost at Tevis Hana. Ezu Tevis Hana, and the Bryce spells out what's Tevis Hana. Only we assess how much the person will want to pay for this kind of ksuba. That the only benefit you'll have is this armla is gosh. If she became a widow, in other words, she outlives her husband, or she was divorced. These are the only two cases that she collects ksuba. So then they'll take in her place. But the mesa the other way around. If she dies first, then you shed a baila. The husband takes over. He doesn't pay out. The husband takes over. So therefore, all they pay is Tevis Hana. Now the question is, he said, now what's about his proof from here? If the woman had a right to sell the ksuba, because we say that the husband only has dividends, and therefore the property belongs to the woman, like we say in any other case. So therefore, the woman's sale would have been a valid sale, and when eventually the woman dies, the property gets over, the ksuba gets transferred to the lokea because they have the real property. It's the meloig. So l'chayda, she gets the full value of the ksuba. She could have sold the ksuba. If she has the ownership, she could have sold the ksuba. She could have sold at face value, because there's no risk. There's no risk whatsoever, because after she dies, even if she predeceases her husband, since she sold the goof and the husband only had the dividends, and the dividends is, you tell me Kenyan paid as lavka Kenyan aguf, her sale would have been valid. So why are you only paying her the Travis? No, the agent trying to make her lose the whole amount. because she could have sold it and received the full amount. These are less of Konzusha. If you're going to say we don't believe in the Konzusha or it doesn't exist, which means the husband has no special rights, all he has is dividends. Why should the husband take over? She can sell it completely and make full amount. They make the full amount. Or almost a full amount. Maybe the guy, has to wait a little bit. It's only a question of time. So they're paying maybe 90 cents a dollar, not 20 cents a dollar. The risk is gone. It's just a question of time. Amar Abaye said, no, doesn't prove anything. You know why? You're right. She can sell the nichse meloig. Im amru benichse meloig. You can say this regarding nichse meloig. You're right. She can sell the nichse meloig because she has the ownership. The husband only has the dividends. And Kinyan paid his lavka Kinyan aguf. Let's say there's no takana zusha. Her sales are valid sale. You're right. But in the ksuva, apart from the $200, if she brought in assets known as nichse tzayim barzel, they're ironclad, which the idea there is we transfer the ownership to the husband. Kolzman, they're together, and here's a chayes, but you fix here you fix an amount. You say that I'm putting in these assets for $1,000. Whenever they divorce, and we don't care if the asset now worth $5,000 or worth $500, there's a fixed value. So that forms part of the ksuba, and because that forms that's like the nad and whatever that she brought into the marriage. And he takes full of price. And that she cannot sell because that is actually transferred to the husband. Because the moment you fix a price and the husband, therefore, it's now the husband's. It's completely as if it's completely his. So that you couldn't sell. Even if we say that you can sell, that's only the nichse meloig, where she retains the full ownership and the husband gets a dividend. Okay, Kinya paid his lavkin guf, her sale was a sale. But the ksuva part is the nichse tzayim barzel is recorded in the ksuva, and that she cannot sell. So therefore, what did the agent try to make her lose? Only the tevas hano. Said the Gemara. So therefore, from here is no proof either way, but we accept takana susha, but not from here. Then Abaye says, I remember Abaye says, now that I'm talking like he has never talked before. Tevas hano. Now that we raise the subject of tevas hano, now that we brought it up, you know what? Let me say something else about it. Tevas hano li isha have. Okay, she sells her ksuva for tevas hano. Who actually gets that money? Because we have a general rule: whatever belongs to the wife belongs to the husband. Or do we say that she has to invest it and the husband then keeps the dividends like everything else? He puts the work in, he gets the dividends, and she owns the ownership. But what happens? Says Abaye, tevas hano completely belongs to her. How do I know?
Is the tevas hano just the choice of who to allocate?
No. Tevas hano, she can sell the ksuva, and there's a risk involved to the buyer because it'll only be a ksuva if she ever gets divorced or if she outlives her husband. If the husband outlives her, there's no ksuva whatsoever. That's what tevas hano. He charged 20 cents a dollar. It's more than just in the case of truma. Tevas hano therefore means I can choose. Yeah, and there we have a machlekes if it can actually transform into money if it has a value. But over here, Tevas means that the fact that she could have sold it for, let's say, 10 cents to the dollar or 20 cents to the dollar, that's a Tevas. Now, if she does sell it, she sells the Tevas. Who ends up with that money? So the buyer, that money belongs to her. The Tevas actually belongs to the husband, to the wife. And the husband has no rights to it. These are that I proved to you from this very same story. Bryce about it just brought up. Because if you can tell me that it ultimately goes to the husband, so the agent can say, what did we make her lose? If she would have saw what you want us to pay the tevas or not, right? Because we made above mice that she received it already. But even if she would have received it, it wouldn't stay with her. It would go to the husband. So what do we make her lose? Nothing. Lame lady, my ask you, why are you charging us money? You're saying we try to make her a loss. What's the loss? What do you say? That she could have sold it at, let's say, 20 cents to the dollar, but who would have ended up with that 20 cents to the dollar? Is either have the husband will take it anyway, so we didn't cause you any loss, so why pay anything? The fact that we say no, you tried to make her lose money means that the Tevas was hers. That's not how you know why? There is a loss, even though the money ends up with the husband, but there's more money in the house, and the whole house is different. He'll give him more spending money. He'll make her life easier. She wants better clothing, she'll get it. So there is a direct loss to her as well because you took away her right of Tevas Hana, but you said that she received the Ksuvah when she didn't. So you robbed her of the Tevas Hana. Good question. I don't know.
It's a very unusual name. We don't find a lot of shots.
True. Maybe Shalman is like from Shleima.
Like a nickname. Sort of.
Yeah, I don't know. Good question. I don't know. Omar Rava says Rava. Hilchasa. I agree with Abaya. Rava says the halacha is lately they're in agreement. A few days ago we had Rava and Abaya together answering. Something's not right here. Omar Rava. Hilchasa halacha is Toivas Hanolish. Abaya is right. Even though we have no proof from the Braisa, Abaya is right. The Tezma goes to the wife. And the husband doesn't get any dividends from it. And we don't say let him buy invest in a property and he should get dividends. My timer paid to Kinle Rabbanan. Rabbanan said, that if she brings a property directly, the husband gets a dividend. So paid to Rabbanan. This is like a tangent of a tangent, or this is like a second generation. Second generation we already had before. The husband does not have a share in it. We had this in Shuvas. He also said, Papa when a Papa came from the yeshiva Amri. They said, Nina letakana usha. We did learn a brayso that supports the takana usha. It says the following is in our brayso. In our mission, we had it in our mission. However, Isha said in our mission, if a slave or a woman, the bad news. If you encounter them, the bad news. Why? You hurt them, harm them, you have to pay. But if they harm others, they don't pay until she's either divorced or he's liberated. Exactly. But even they pay you, it'll be years from now. Who knows when they'll ever get paid? And with the woman, you don't even know if you ever get paid. She doesn't get a now, if you can tell me less than Usha, and this will prove from our mission that Usha exists. Because if not, why don't we force the woman to sell her properties? If you tell me that the wife, if she sells her nichse maloig, you tell me the husband only has dividends, which means he has no ownership, she can sell it. And so why do you say that when the wife causes other people damage, she has no assets, you got to wait till, she's divorced, whatever, force her to sell her nichse maloig, her properties, and she has a right to sell those properties, as we just said, because the husband only has dividends, and Kinyan paid us, lavke Kinyan aguf. But if you believe in Takana Zusha, it makes sense because Takana Zusha was that the husband is different than everybody else. That we reinforce the relationship between husband and wife that he has part ownership of the property. Exactly, he can take it away from the kech. So the Gemara. So if you don't believe in Takana Zusha, sorry, just good. If you tell me not Takana Zusha, Taz benichsim force her to sell her nichse malog. These are the assets that she retains ownership, and these are the plucked assets. And the husband takes the dividends, but she owns it. And give it to the victim. Says the Gemara, that's your horaya. Let me ask you a better question. Time according to you, and he nami. He goes, okay, I'll grant you to exist. And the husband has a nichse malog, has a thing. At least force her to sell with a tevus hana. And that is that if she, in other words, she cannot sell the property full price because the husband has more ownership. But if she outlives the husband gets nothing. So therefore, she can still sell the property not for the full value, but maybe 20 cents on the dollar. Force her to do that. If you have such a swara that we can force her, the titanlay and give that to the victim. Would force her to sell the property to somebody else and give that money to the victim, pay something. Ella de Leslie. What are you going to tell me? She throw him on a case where she has no properties. That's the only reason why we don't force her. Otherwise, you would force her, at least for the 20 cents in the dollar. So even if you don't believe in the Constitution, she could have sold it for the full value, but she doesn't have any properties to sell. Says the Gemara, okay, what about Tazmik Suvasa? Forget the properties. She can still sell, okay, she can't sell the Ksuba for full value, but she can sell 20 cents a dollar because if she outlives her husband, then she ends up with the Ksuba, and then the person who bought it will take over, so sell it twice a dollar. If you're going to start forcing her to sell assets, strip her of her assets, strip her of the Ksuba itself. Forget the Nichsimalag. Strip her the Ksuba itself. True, she cannot sell a full value because the husband has first right. But if she outlives her husband, she gets a Ksuba. So there's a risk involved. The buyer will give her 20 cents to a dollar, let's say. If you're talking about this kind of thing, so you want to know how many that made our Mishnah follows the maid says she can't sell the ksuba. If she sells the ksuba, Rameir says he can't live together anymore. She needs a guarantee, a confidence that he won't divorce her, and therefore she cannot sell the ksuba and remain without a ksuba. You can't leave in one night together.
The guarantee to reassure her, or is it
for her
enforcement over his head?
For her, it's a deterrent. It's both. It's hand in hand. It's a deterrent for him that he shouldn't be, willy nilly just throw it out. So therefore, she feels much more secure in her marriage. Says he want to know. That's not a question. The time of my, what's the whole reason why you now I live without a ksuba? Because the husband then will look for her. They should look hey kalabain. Let's see, it wouldn't be easy. So if you sell it to a buyer, it's not easy because the idea is that a ksuba costs money. So does that really make a difference if the husband has to pay it out to the wife or has to pay it out to the kech? It's the deterrent is still there. He won't divorce her. The megalishla also handles of the gabel. So therefore, you can't say let her sell the ksuba because she. Sorry. So my question is, why can't you tell me you sell them if you're starting selling? Why don't you sell the ksuba? You tell me you can't sell the ksuba. And Travis no, because you'll be reigning without a ksuba. That's not an answer because as far as the turn is concerned, doesn't matter to the husband who he has to pay out to. If he has to pay money out the ksuba, that's the turn. Does that matter if it ends up with his wife or ends up with the lekech? So the question remains: why don't we force the wife to sell her at least the Travis no? She has an ksuba. And you know why she can't? Travis not milim. It's only words. And words is not something that she can actually give over to the victim. What do you mean? What it means words? But this words have value because she can sell it on the open market. The Tevis are 20 cents to the dollar. So these are not just words. These are words that are tied to money. So if we're going to force her to start selling assets and pay the victim, why taka don't we force her to sell the ksuba, the Tevis or not? Ella Mishun Shmuel for another reason altogether. No way you're going to force her. But what Shmuel said. What Shmuel said, we already had this a number of times. If let's say Reuben owes Shimon money, and Shimon turns and it's a loan contract, and Shimon then turns around and sells it to Levi, and then Shimon turns around to Reuben and says, "You know what? I'm moichel you. You know the loan that you owe me, which I sold to Levi." Shimon says the real lender says, "I pardon you." The din is that the part is a valid part. Why? So we had Taisus and Ksubas of Pezaina. A Machlek is reading many times why. Either because Mechiras stutters the Rabbanon, the whole idea, concept of selling, on selling a loan contract to Rabbanon. Mahataida, who does Reuben still owe the money to the real lender? So therefore, the real lender can be Michael. And once you're Michael, there's nothing left that the Rabbanon are going to, take from the Reuben. Or even if Mechiras stutters the Raisa, but when you make a loan, there's two things. There's a personal indebtedness and there's a lien on the properties. What can you sell? What's transferable? The lien on the property, because the property is something that can be sold. So the lien on the properties can be sold. That personal indebtedness is like a chiyuv from the Torah. That's not something that's transferable. That's something that's an innate thing. It's not transferable. So therefore, what did I sell? I only sold the lien on the properties, not the personal obligation that you have. And why is there lien on the properties? It's a corollary of the indebtedness that you personally have. So if I'm meichel you personally, there's nothing left for there's no lien anymore. So therefore, I can be meichel. So the Gemara is saying, therefore, because the wife can turn around, sell the ksuba to this person, right, and then turn around to the husband, meichel the husband, they've been paying the ksuba. So why would a person buy such a ksuba? Says the Gemara, "Bafili yedish meichel." So that's why there's no point in forcing her to sell the Tavis and the Ksuba when she can turn around and turn the Ksuba into not. Says the Gemara, I still understand. Amri Zavun is oven. Let her sell the Ksuba to another party. They'll pay 20 cents to the dollar and take that money and pay it to the victim. And if tomorrow she turns around and she's Meichel her husband, she's a bad person. And then there's a question whether she has to pay the guy Gami or whatever. But the victim got to paid out in the meantime. And we never go back to the victim and say, hey, give the money back. The titan lay, give it to the victim. And if she's Michael to the husband, she's Michael. So that person who bought the ksuba loses out. But the victim got paid. One answer is Amri. It's not whether she will be Michael husband. Because she's in a good relation with the husband, you don't think that if she sold the ksuba, she won't turn around and be Michael husband. Of course she will. Call the Gabi Baal, so it turns out like we're putting in, yes. So therefore we're creating a situation. What we're going to force her to sell the silver when we know that she's going to turn on Michael. We know that she's going to hurt the buyer. How can we make a law to say to help one person out, we're going to harm somebody else? Yeah, because we know that's exactly what's going to happen. It's exactly what's going to happen. So Gemara says, okay. If we're going to force, okay, we cannot force her to sell. It doesn't make sense to force her to somebody else. I'm talking about forcing. If a woman voluntarily sells her ksuba, we're not worried that she's going to be meichel. Then why would she sell the ksuba? But if a woman is forced to sell the ksuba, there's no question that she's going to turn around later to her husband and say, "Don't worry, uncle, I'm meichel you." So why put that person in such an invidious position. However, says the Gemara, if we're forcing, I have another solution to help the victim out that she beat up. She says to the victim, here, I'll give you the Tevis and the Ksuva. What's the worst that's going to happen? Should be Michael husband. So but he's no worse off. There's a chance that he might have got something, 20 cents a dollar. Maybe it covers the wounds that you made him. What are you going to tell me that she'll turn around and there's a good chance, a good probability she'll turn around and Michael husband? Okay, so how's the victim any worse off? But at least there's a chance that he might have got paid out. Let's do something. Try to rectify the situation. So the mother, at least the person who received it, let him get it. Because even in this case, she's Michael to the husband, like a mafsid. How does the guy lose out? The guy's not giving you any money. The victim is not paying her anything for that silver. So it's a benefit. There's a chance that she won't be Michael husband, and he now has a silver that one day he'll get paid out. There's a chance that she'll be Michael, a strong probability she'll be Michael husband, and the silver is worthless. Okay, so how's he worse off now? And he'll wait to get paid till she's either out of the husband or she's divorced. Safe. So Gemara says, since call the Gabi because it's not just maybe, definitely she will be her husband. Remember, we're forcing her. Because we're forcing her to do something, the Ksuva, she'll definitely turn on her husband, so it's wrong. To go through this whole rigmarole, to force the Bezin, she'll go and force her. The whole thing looks like a joke. And wasting Bezin's time, because we know it's a waste of time. We know there's no question. Yeah, because she's forced to give the Ksuva away to this other fremde guy, because she hit him or something, she definitely is going to turn around and be Michael husband. So there's nothing to talk about. Says the Gemara, Tanya is explaining the following. If she harmed her own husband, okay, till now we said about paying out and all that, it's the fremde people, and she'll be Michael husband, that's why. But let's talk about the direct between her and the husband. She hit her husband. We don't say to her, okay, that's it, you forfeit your ksuva in lieu of whatever you owe the husband, you forfeit your ksuva. Now, we don't say that. Now, why? Let's force her to give the ksuva back to the husband, but no different than a stranger to a stranger. You couldn't sell the actual ksuva. Because, as I said before, because the kakana zusha.
We're talking about while they're married. Right?
Talking about the marriage, but she punched him, and they have a very good relationship, but he wants his money.
It's a very interesting dynamic here.
She
bashed him in the face. He takes it and the Basin says, "You got
to live happily ever after." Exactly. Okay, so that now you know why divorce in those days was so rare. Let's force the wife to give. Okay, all she can sell Tevis and but give that Tevis and to the husband, and that should be compensation for what she did to him. And even the and over here, if she turns around to the husband and says, "I'm meichel you the ksuva completely, you don't have to pay me out, which eventually will come back to you," who cares? He's no worse off. Like the same thing we had about the victim, but here the husband is a victim. So why don't we do with the husband? And and here, you meichel and everything else, who cares? It's going back to the husband anyway. So here we have a problem, because here she'd be living without a ksuva. She'll be living without a ksuva. Over there, we answer the husband has to pay out. It's still a deterrent. But over here, the husband has to pay from one pocket to the next pocket. Who's he paying himself? So therefore, here, if the moment she gives up her ksuva, there's no deterrent anymore. They can't live together. That's why it's not an option.
It's not really from his pocket to the other pocket, because the ksuva is like I don't know, it's like put away in a fund or something like that.
Or whatever it is. But if he's taking it for himself, if he's now the buyer. No, but if what we're saying is, if he's the victim, let's force the wife to give him enough. Yeah, so it's his. So and she's Michael doesn't know, you don't bother paying it, so where it ends up stays with him. Nothing. So here we have a problem. You're not live with your wife even for one moment without a ksuva, and here you took away the deterrent. The time of my kadesh it shouldn't be easy for him to just toss her out. Here he's more than happy to divorce her and forget, and he'll collect his payment. So there's no deterrent anymore. Says the Gemara, so if we're worried that's how he's going to behave, so if he wants to get paid out, all he has to do is divorce her, And what was the Mishnah say? That a woman who harms somebody, she owes the money, but she cannot pay because she has no assets. But when she's divorced, she will. So if he wants his money, he'll divorce her. And then he says, "Oh, now I owe you ksuva. That ksuva is equal to the damage you made me. I'm keeping it. And goodbye, Charlie." If we're worried about this behavior, the hashtanami megalish lahil divorce her. The goblet she'll collect anyway. If you're saying that we're worried that counsel he'll divorce her, he can do it anyway. So therefore, he doesn't need a return. So therefore, what's no worse? If you're worried, the reason why we don't tell her give the ksuba to the taves and to your husband because he might divorce her in order to get paid. So even if you don't force her, he can divorce her and get paid out. And the fact that he didn't do that proves he's not interested in divorcing her. Just because they had a fist fight or whatever it was doesn't mean that he has to divorce her. Yeah, exactly. It's all done out of love. Going to nofish ksuvasa. The problem is, the more answers that we're talking about, the ksuva was a large amount. Remember, a ksuva is $200 and plus it's taisik ksuva. But the ksuva, whatever, let's say even $200. The nafish ksuvasa, the ksuva was greater. The Mishra who put the lemafsid tuva. What is it? Let's say the damage was $25. If he divorces her, he has to pay her $200 and he'll get back 25. What kind of businessman is that? If that's his incentive to divorce her so that he should get paid out for the harm that was done to him, it doesn't make sense. It's going to cost him $175 to get 25, and get $25. Doesn't make sense. So the Gemara says, the Eid and the fish ksuvasa miksuv. If you can tell me to the fish ksuvasa miksuva the rice nukme aksuba the rice. Why should I follow? The ksuba the rice they keep. I'm not going to touch that. Don't sell that part of the ksuba. That part keep. The either tizbenella bechabala and the balance, the extra above it. They're more than $200. You give a tesefik ksuba. You add sometimes to the ksuba. Is that we should force her to sell to the husband. The Torah, let's say there was $200 written there because the Torah said, we say the Torah, but we hold Ksuvas the Rabbanon. I made hold Ksuvas the Raisa. But it doesn't matter. We mean that the fixed amount that every single person who gets married has to give, the $200. Let's say there's another $50 of addition. So the $200 we don't touch, and that's the guarantee that they stay married. So, she has to live with the Ksuvah. But the additional part, tell her you have to sell that to him, the Torah Sana, and he'll get and force her to sell it to him. And what's the point of being? And if she's Michael, it's all good. So the Gemara going to learn a fish ksuvasa miksuva the rice. It's not so much more at all. The have a chabol arba zuzah. Let's say the what do you call it? The mishum arba zuzah lemafshin esrim chamisha. So we thought that the damage was greater than the ksuva. Now we're saying the ksuva itself is a lot more than the damage. And for example, there's 100. We're using an example of an almana. There's $100 in the ksuva, and the damage is $5, and therefore it doesn't make sense that we should sell the ksuva for that. El Hadatan we learned another price. Kishem shaloi tim koil. Just like, just like she cannot sell while they're married. She cannot sell while they're married because of that constitution all that. Just like she cannot sell while they're still in a relationship, so too, so too, that if she causes damage to somebody, we're not going to force her to sell the ksuba while they're married. If she's still married to the guy, just like she cannot sell property where it is because the husband still has the dividends, which are constitution, which means that it's still part his. So too, if she wounded somebody, we're not going to force her to sell the ksuba to compensate that person. But on occasion, the mafsada, but sometimes we do. The heichidami, for example, going in a fisha ksuvasa miksuva deraisa. If her ksuva is greater than the ksuva of the Torah, if it's greater than the ksuva of the Torah, so we see from here that the ksuva, so then she can. What do you call it? Sell that part of the ksuva, the part that's greater. So we see that we could force her to sell. Omar Rabba says Rabba, Seifa, you know what the Seifa is talking about? The ksuva's bin zakrin. Talking about something totally different. We're talking about what's a ksuva bin zakrin is. A man is married to two women, and the second wife, let's say, brought her own children into the marriage, and they make an arrangement that she wants her children to have her ksuva. If the wife, even if generally speaking, if the wife predeceases the husband, there's no ksuva. But if when eventually the husband dies, the father dies, then the children of each mother, even the mother who died first, so the mother lost the ksuva, but her children don't lose her rights to the ksuva. That's called ksuva's benin dakrin. So let's say the mother of one of the two wives, one of them died, and then eventually the father dies. First thing we do is that each of the children, they collect, even the children of the mother who predeceased, who had no ksuva because she died first. But when the husband dies, first thing is they divide they allocate the ksuva part of it, and then the remainder, the balance of the money, the assets, that is what they divide. That is considered Yerusha. That's considered Yerusha.
So is that a standard procedure, or is that has to be established that this marriage is going to be under the conditions of this type?
You don't even have to. It's called the general standard thing that we do. So, for example, if she would have sold her ksuva to somebody else, and then she died before the husband, that loses everything, forfeited, because she has no ksuva. But her children don't lose anything. So when the husband dies later, the children will get the Yerusha. Even though the other children, the other mother will say, "Hey, too bad, your mother lost out and everything else." And Ahmed, even if the mother sold it to somebody else. So what a naughty woman! She sold the ksuva. Doesn't matter. When the father dies, and that lekech is out of the picture, the children of the mother, they get share. But and then the argument is they'll say our mother didn't sell the ksuba because she had a choice. She sold it because she's desperate for money. Our father was stingy, didn't give her whatever she needed or didn't satisfy her needs, so she had no breda. It wasn't a bad woman. She wasn't paishe. I didn't want to disrupt the marriage. Said the Gemara. So Rabba says, "Say for us the ksuba is this is how you learn the brayse. Kishem shayimachseres ksubas la'chedim. If she sells the ksuba to somebody else, and then she dies first, which means that somebody else gets nothing.
He's lost his investment.
You go investment
on the last page.
Exactly. But life six the children don't lose out of that ksuba. They will get when the father dies. They will get her ksuba, collect the ksuba. My time and why? Because their argument is Zuzu down soon. Our mother had no breda. She needed the money. Kach so too. If she sells her ksuba to her own husband, like if she sells back the ksuba to her husband because she's desperate for money, so she sells it to him, tavis, or whatever it is. When that man dies, her children will collect the full ksuba before they distribute the Yerush itself. My time is uzudan suah. It's money that forced her to sell to her own husband. I mean, it's a strange relationship. If the husband knows she needs the money, why take part of the ksuba? But that's what it is. Says the Gemara, okay, getting back to Takana Susha, Lema, let us say, Takana Susha, this whole Takana that a husband is different than anybody else, that even though all he has is Kenyan paid his dividends, yet we'll treat it as if he has part ownership, is actually a machlekes in two brises. Tanai, so two brises. Why? Bryce number one. The one bryce we learned, Avde Maloik. Let's say she brought into the marriage, her dowry to her husband was slaves. Yoitzin b'sherva ayin. If the woman who owns the slaves, gouged their eye, knocked out their tooth, they are set free because she's the owner. The man, all he has is a dividend, and even if he has part ownership, it's only part ownership. He's not a full owner, and therefore they don't go free if the man did it. They don't go free because he's not considered a full owner. But it sounds like the woman, according to this Bryce, is a full owner. Bryce number two. The Tanidel, the other he learned, no, there's no full owner, not her, not him. Loylish, not the man, because the wife is still part owner, but Loylisha, because the husband, even though he has only the dividends, Kenyan paid the Lav Kenyan group, but there's a Takana of Usha that says that the husband also has a certain measure of ownership. And therefore, because there's no full owner here, neither one of them set the Eved free. So though it's clearly the second Braisa believes in Takana Susha, and the first Braisa says, no, the woman is the total owner. That means the husband is merely dividends. That means the first Braisa doesn't believe in Takana Susha, the special Takana we made to give the husband more ownership. So the Kuli Alma, everyone agrees, Kinya paid as Lav Kinya Guftami. Dividends is not ownership. My Lav is Bahaka Mifli. Man Damali Isha to the wife, less than because of believing Kazusha. Man Dama, the one who says Laili Isha, that there's no full owner, doesn't believe the Kazusha. So therefore the wife is still the owner, but only part owner because part of it goes to the husband. Said no. Kuli Alma, everyone agrees, Islahu Takana Zusha. Everyone says the Takana Zusha. There is a Takana Zusha. Ella. Kan Takana, kan la'acha Takana. Everyone agrees there's a Takana Busha. But the first bride is talking about before the takana was put into place, because the ushuk happened, in a certain period in Tanoim. This happened prior. The prior it belonged to 100% to the wife, nothing to the husband. So obviously the wife, knocks out his tooth, the other goes free. The husband knocks out the tooth, does not go free. But the second bride was after the takana, and therefore there's no full owner, and neither of them set him free. Or another way of looking at it is they're both talking about after takana. But the East Lutakos, everyone agrees to Takana Zusha. So how come the first Brisa says that the wife is still full owner and she sets him free and the husband not? Only the wife sets him free, not the husband. My time this follows Rabba. What does Rabba say? Rabba says, Hegdish, there's certain cases, we had numerous occasions. If somebody, let's say, gave an asset and said, this is a poitike, this is going to be, there's a lien on this particular item, that let's say he took a shirt and said, this is not poitike, that you want to collect the money, I have no cash, take it from this cow. And then I take the animal and I make it a carbon, Kedushas goof. By me making it a carbon, Kedushas goof, it now usurps, it completely unravels the lien or undoes the lien that I put onto it for the malva, and it's gone. So if you make it hagdish, chametz, let's say I owe money to a guy, so I have chametz whiskey that I gave him as security. So if I took this security and I put it in the guy's house, then we say it's not chametz that went through Pesach, because during Pesach he knew it was in the guy's house. It's as if it became the guy's. But if the Eid left it in his house, even though there's a lien on it to the guy, right? There's an encumbrance on it. If because he left it in the Eid's house, it's chametz, he must get rid of it, and there's no longer any value, and he has to pay the guy whatever he has to pay. And shikhr, if he made the eved a paitike, and then tomorrow he decides to free the eved, the lender has no rights to it. So the same thing here. She's married to the guy, and therefore Takana Zusha says that the husband has a part ownership. But if she then goes ahead and knocks out his tooth, which is a way of setting him free makes it free completely. Mafkim the shibud. Okay, this takes out of the shibud. So therefore, the Gemara answers the one brayso, the other brayso believes in Rava that says that even though Takana Zusha something else, but if she sets him free, then the husband loses all of his rights. And by knocking out his tooth, it's tantamount to setting him free. The Tin tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem.